Welcome back to the program. You're watching Daybreak on Trust TV. Here's a quick reminder. You can watch the show on the go by watching our YouTube and Facebook live streams on our various social media platforms on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and a lot more, so you don't miss out on any of the conversation. Right, time now to get the conversation started and to give us a lot more update on developments on the Plateau in Mangu, specifically about this fresh violent attacks. We're joined by Trust TV's Ado Musa, who's standing by for us in Plateau, in Jos, the Plateau state capital. Ado, good morning. What more have we learned about the scale of this attack, and how would you describe the return of normalcy as guaranteed by Operation Safe Haven?
The fact that the Operation Safe Haven have assured the residents of Mangu of their safety, but then again, the residents are still complaining about some of the problems they are having, particularly this morning. Because when I spoke to some of the residents, they said there were some attempts even this morning to burn some houses. So they say there is tension currently going on in Mangu town. The fact that they could see the presence of some security personnel, they say that didn't stop some of the attempt to create another violence. So this is what we have now in Mangu.
And what more have we learned about the death toll, for instance, the casualty level, and the level of destruction also? Is there any clarity on that? Because Operation Safe Haven has not confirmed on its own the death toll so far.
Yes, from the parties involved, they confirmed to us that mosques, churches were burned during the Tuesday's violence. They also confirmed to us that a good number of houses were also burned during the violence. They also said that a lot of people were killed, even though they say what they could only confirm to us that they have about 8 people who were confirmed dead. But a lot of people are yet to be seen, and a lot of people are still also receiving treatment at various hospitals. Some have even been taken to Bauchi State for treatment.
And regarding the operations of the security as well as the military operation, has there been any arrest of, say, for instance, those responsible for these attacks?
Well, I don't think if there is any report of arrest or any arrest at the moment, because none of the security agencies have come out to give us an update with regard to any arrest. But if you could recall, yesterday, the spokesperson of Plateau State Police Command, DSP Alabo Alfred, said that they had made some arrests with regard to an attack. So I believe that what he was saying may be different from what happened in Mangu, because what happened in Mangu is a kind of clash between Magavul and the Fulani, and then it later extended to Mangu town.
All right. And how is the rest of Plateau State reacting to this development? Because we do know that these sort of attacks could have ripple effects across the state.
Honestly, the people of Plateau State, particularly the resident of Jos, which is the capital of Plateau State, are not happy with what is happening in the in Mangu local government areas, because they believe that if this thing is happening, there are a lot of people who are even traveling and which they have to pass through Mangu, they could not do so. There are also a lot of people who are also traveling from, let's say, Panshin, or even from the southern part of the state that is coming to Jos. This is not also possible. So honestly, they have been lamenting about the crisis, and they have been calling on security agencies to quickly intervene so that normalcy will be returned, and then other activities will also continue.
Okay. Ado, thank you very much for the update. I know as the day progresses, we're going to get a lot more clarity regarding the scale of this recent attack, and also get to weigh the impact of the security measures that are being put in place to restore law and order. Thank you very much for the update, Ado Musa.
Thank you for having me.
Right. There's a lot more to unpack regarding these developments on the Plateau, because we're going to speak to community leaders and representatives of the quote-unquote warring parties in that area to get a better understanding of what the problem is, and hear the different perspectives to this development. And we are going to be speaking in a moment or two to Garba Abdullahi Muhammad, who is the chairman, Plateau State chapter of Gang Allah Fulani Development Association. And also we'll be talking to Maren Isaac Samuel, who is representing the Bokos Youth Progressive Association. Plus, a little later down the line, we get to speak to a crisis and conflict expert who understands these sort of developments and what best the government needs to do, plus other stakeholders, to address and experience perhaps a turnaround from this long-standing battle across ethno-religious lines, especially in Plateau State. So in a moment or two, we'll give you more of those perspectives, as well as their takes on some of these developments, and how what is happening right now is reminiscent of the 2-decade-long communal violent clashes that have come to characterize developments in Plateau State. So more on that in just a moment or two. Just to recap, so far from our reporting on the pages of the Daily Trust and Trust TV reporting, we have confirmed that at least 8 persons have reportedly been killed from the fresh attacks in Mangu local government area of Plateau State. Churches, mosques, and other houses have been burnt. In fact, we do have some of those pictures just to show you the scale of some of those devastations from Plateau State, in Mangu to be precise, before that curfew was being put in place by the Plateau State government. And just to show you the impact it has had so far on lives there, as the government takes stock of some of these developments, and also tries to understand the best approach forward. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in a short moment to speak to those representatives of the Fulani and Magavu community in Plateau State about the recent fresh violent attacks that has led to the death of at least 8 persons so far on the record. More on that after the break. Welcome back to the program. This is still Daybreak, and thank you very much for staying with us. Let's now speak to Maren Isaac Samuel, representative of the Bokos Youth Progressive Association. Thank you very much for joining us on the program, Mr. Maren Isaac. Let's hear from your perspective what led to this recent violent clash in Mangu local government.
Thank you very much. Good morning. What really happened, or what led to the crisis recently in Mangu, it's because the other Muslims in the town continue harboring the Fulanis inside the town. They continue harboring the Fulanis inside the town. And then what really transpired is that there was a machine theft that took place. So they killed the person, they collected his machine. So those thieves were running, the Fulanis were running with the machine. So the locals were running after them. So they went and entered into a Muslim house. So when they asked them, they said they saw them entered into this house. They said no. They said they are inside this house. So the locals insisted. And then when they insisted, They entered into the house and then they found out that the Fulanis entered into that house. That was what sparked off the crisis.
And why is, say for instance, right, in these situations, the police are not involved to either make arrests or intervene? Because as the law enforcement officers, as they're supposed to be as operatives, they're normally designed to address issues like this.
Yes, the security operatives, that is from the military to the police, they are trying their best, but their best is not enough. As it is said that security business is everybody's business. So that is why the locals are also engaged in the security business. So if there is anything that happens in that nature, so the locals are up to the task also, helping the military, helping the police, to fight, to fish out those people.
Right, and when you talk about the locals, are you talking about a vigilante setup, a sort of like a local militia? What is the setup like when you say locals? Give us an understanding of this kind of setup.
Okay, not a militia, but the vigilante.
Right. And
yes, we have the neighborhood police, we have the vigilante, and then we also have the hunters association.
Right. So you did talk about those fault lines that we've been talking about for long, whether it's the ethnic coloration to the tensions on the plateau or the religious coloration. Give us a sense of how those sentiments also play a role in compounding and complicating conversations, even when, for instance, if you're not starting with a fight, how those conversations are usually heated, that they could easily lead to violent clashes.
Okay, when we are talking about, are you talking about ethnic coloration or
the ethno-religious coloration that makes conversation difficult between these two communities who are sharing the same locality?
Okay, the truth is that when something happens like that, the government, in its wisdom, calls both parties, that is the Fulanis, the farmers, and the headers. They are having a peace talk, a reconciliatory talk. But in fact, what battles us most is that even after the peace talk, the Fulanis will still strike again. And then we come to realize that from my own understanding, or from our own understanding, it's not about religion. It is about ethnicity. It's about trying to grab the land. It's about forceful invasion. I think from our own perspective and from our own understanding, that is what they are up to.
And you look at the current situation. For instance, we've had the peace agency on the plateau, and I suppose it has been localized to a point where you could find community leaders who usually step in to address these situations before things get out of hand. Why does it appear that these setups are no longer having some kind of effect to prevent violent conflicts in these volatile communities?
Yes, they have tried their best. They are all putting in their best. But the issue here is that the headers, what they normally do is that they go into the farm. Yes, they go into the local farms and destroy the farms. And then they rape our women and children. You see, that is what is really keeping this crisis going on, because there is kidnapping. The Fulani kidnap, they rape our women and children, and then they destroy our farms too. And so any effort to make peace is always negative.
Right. So to put it bluntly, you are saying that this ethnic group in your locality are basically not peace-loving people.
Yes, they are peace-loving people, sir. Very, very peace-loving, but very accommodating.
Right. I'm not talking about, the people you represent, not the Magaville community. I'm talking about the Fulanis that you mentioned. Just give me a sense of why you think they do not want peace in the area.
Why they don't want peace is they want to grab the land so that they can have enough space to graze on.
Right. Okay. I believe we also have the chairman, Plateau State Chapter of Gang Allah Fulani Development Association, who's joining us virtually. So let's get his own reaction to some of this development. I think Marian Isaac has put it succinctly that, listen, from their own side, they're peace-loving people. They want to stay in peace with herders, with Muslims, with Fulanis in the area. However, they suspect that the people you represent, the herders, for instance, have become rather used to perhaps provoking them, for lack of a better expression, to capture, his thoughts. What are your reactions to some of the things he said about what happened and what led to the recent violent clashes in the Mangu area?
Good morning, everybody. This is Garba Abdullah Muhammad, the Chairman, Plateau State Chapter of Gang Allah Fulani Development Association of Nigeria, Gavdan. The triggers, or what happened that brought about the violence around Mangu, is primarily cattle rustling. So there was issue of cattle rustling. This cattle rustling is going in rampant without being checked. So Fulani people are peace-loving. They are peace-loving. Everybody knows that Fulani people are peace-loving. We are always at the receiving end of this violence because we hunt openly and our cows are visible. That means all our belongings are visible. So people are bent to, they want to part us with our heritage of herding. So people come in with arms and ammunition to attack our people and collect their cows and belongings. They kill the cows, they kill the herders, they burn down their houses without being provoked. So saying that the Fulanis are the people who foment trouble or who start violence, I don't think I agree with this totally.
And what do you make of the response of security operatives whose job is to maintain and enforce law and order? Over the past few weeks, we've seen what has happened in Barikiladi and Bokos across some 23 communities. And it's safe to say that the polity has been heated in Plateau State for that period of time, from December last year to January this year. What do you make of the impact of security operatives, be it the police or the Nigerian military, through Operation Safe Haven to stabilize situations in the area?
I am commending the security operatives for a job well done, because they have done wonderfully well in seeing that this crisis came to hold. I'm commending the commander and GOC, Operation Safe Haven and 3 Armed Division, Major General A.E. Abdul Salam, who, before the crisis, he had a committee. That's the 57-man committee, Peace Implementation Committee, which comprises of Basa, Jos South, Jos North, Riom, Bari, Keladi, Mangu, and Bokos local government areas, which happen to be part of the committee. I'm the vice chairman too. They have done wonderfully well in preaching peace within those areas. So after the happening of the late December, We have complained to the security, more especially the military, the Sector 5 in Bokos, that this is what is happening. Our people, houses, villages, belongings have been burned down, cows killed, a lot of people killed. And I'm commending the police for swift action through the DPO of Bokos local government and other security agencies. But our problem, our concern, our problem, our nightmare from the security part is Operation Rambo. This Operation Rambo, they are giving us a very tough time because we don't know their mission, we don't know their makeup, we don't know what they are after. Because our people are complaining that they lead if they lead mobs to drive away Fulani people from their houses, and mob will come and burn down their houses. So we are left with a lot of questions. I'm calling on stakeholders. I'm calling on the government, especially explain to the hardened community, to the Fulani community, what are these operations, what are they up to? Because we have confidence in them completely.
Right.
The police,
you talk about
the military, we have. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you talk about Operation Rambo. For someone who's just hearing this for the first time, what are they and what is the setup like?
Really, I don't have an in-depth setup of those Operation Rambo, but they are more or less like a vigilante group of government of Plateau State. Because recently, they have recruited 600.
So pardon the interruption, Mr. Garba Abdullah. You're saying that the government is funding Operation Rambo as a vigilante group, and you think Operation Rambo has an ulterior motive because you're not comfortable with the way they operate. Is that what you're saying, if I get you clearly?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm comfortable with how they operate. Every day they go to an operation, our people will be complaining of their lopsided operation. So okay. We don't know. We have the Nigerian police. We know them. We know them very well. They know how they operate.
Okay.
We know the Nigerian military. We know them very well and how they operate. Okay. This one, we don't know how they operate, but we are made to understand they are being funded by the Plateau State government.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Right. Let me bring back Marian Isaac Samuel back into the conversation. Your thoughts on Operation Rambo and whether or not you share the views that Garba Abdullah just pointed out, that, you know, he feels or they believe that the operations of this vigilante group is not fair to their ethnic group because they feel it is lopsided. What are your thoughts about it, especially as far as their operations are concerned? Marian Isaac, I don't know if you can still hear me.
Yes, although I'm not getting him loud and clear, but I heard him saying they are not happy with the way Operation Rainbow are dealing with their people. I think that is not true.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. So go ahead. What is your take on Operation Rambo? Because he's clearly saying that the operations are lopsided against the Fulani extraction. What are your thoughts about that?
No, it is not true, sir. It is not true. Those heading the security apparatus is the military, not the Operation Rambo. The mobile police force, the Nigerian police, and then the military. It is not the Operation Rambo. I've not seen any Operation Rambo doing anything in Bokos or in Barkiladi or in Mangu. It is the military.
Right, but he's saying,
yes,
from his assessment, right, he commends the efforts of the military and the Nigerian police. He thinks they're doing a good job towards managing the situation. However, he specifically pointed out that Operation Rambo's activities is given them concerned because they're not particularly comfortable with how they operate. And what can you tell us about Operation Rambo from your experiences?
Operation Rambo has just been inaugurated. I don't think they have entered into full-fledged working because I have not seen them anywhere doing any working. But it is the military and the police. I have seen them doing the work. And then from our own perspective, or from our own side too, sometimes the military are not helping issues.
Right.
Yes, the military are not helping issues because most of the time these Fulani people, when they come attacking our people, when you call the military, before they come, it will take like 30 to 1 hour before you see them. So it is the vigilante and then the hunters, the neighborhood watch that are really helping in quelling some situation of the crisis.
Right.
But I can't say that the Operation Rambo has done anything illegal or has done anything bad or has taken sides. No, that is not true.
Right, and let's talk about mob action, for instance, and why it continues to push this situation, and perhaps also engender this cycle of violence we've seen over the past 20 years and counting. Let's talk about from both sides, and I believe that if we're going to be honest about the conversation, if we're going to hold each other accountable on both sides, I think there are wrongdoers. No matter how we try to gloss over the issues, I think on both sides it's safe to say that there's some group of people are doing something bad, and that's why this situation continues to repeat itself. Give me a sense of what needs to be done to stop this reprisal attacks from happening, because yesterday's attacks were probably a byproduct of attacks that previously happened, whether 2 weeks ago or 2 years ago or something like that. And there's a very good chance that if things are not mitigated now, we could see more attacks in the near future. So from your experience as someone who has lived in Plateau State probably all your life, give me a sense of what you think needs to be done to stop this cycle of violence.
Yes, thank you very much. The government has to rise up to the task of defending the lives and properties of people. Because what we see here, and then what usually culminates the issue of mob actions, is that when the military try to take sides, that is when the mob will take action. For instance, on Thursday in Boko, a soldier shot a youth. He shot a youth, and we don't know why he did that. And then it was on a market day. So the mob reacted. They were asking me, why did he do that? He said he found him with illicit drug. And then why should he shoot him? You see, so sometimes the military are also helping the mob to go into the action. And then sometimes what the military does is that when there is an attack or they are burning houses or they are destroying farmland, what they do is that once they reach there, they protect the minority. They protect the minority. So that is what used to stir up anger of the mob.
And in talking about it, because I'm going to circle back to Garba Abdullahi in just a moment. These two groups, right, whether it's Muslims and Christians on the Plateau, whether it's Fulani and other indigenous ethnic groups on the Plateau, have had shared history, shared experiences over the past, I don't know, probably close to a century or so, intermarriages and things like that. But over the past 20 years plus, right, we've seen the deterioration in relations between these groups, whether it's along ethnic lines or along religious lines. What happened in your view for that to break down to this level? And is there a chance that we can recharge this relationship and make it functional and a helpful one for the interests of Plateau State? Marian, I don't know if you heard the question.
Hello, come again. I'm not getting you well.
Okay, I talked about the shared historical experiences, the shared values, the ethnic marriages that has happened over the past decades in the history of Plateau State and these communities. But over the years, we've seen that relationship break down because of the ethno-religious fault lines. What, in your view, needs to be done to recharge this relationship and to fix the dysfunctionality within it so that we can have peaceful coexistence on the plateau?
Okay, yeah, there should be forgiveness. There should be forgiveness. There should be understanding. So from my own perspective, the set of Fulani people at that time, let me say 30 years or 40 years ago, I think they are far different than the set of Fulani that we are having today. And I don't know, is it because of education or civilization or development or what? I can't tell. But when the Fulani came, our people accommodated them. In fact, there was intermarriages. The relationship was very, very cordial. But of recent, we don't know what really happened with this type of Fulani now.
Right.
That, they don't want to live with you. Let me put it like that.
Okay. Garba Abdullah, your response to this one, especially on the fact that you've had a positive experience before the recent, perpetual, perennial, persistent circle of violence started just a little over 2 decades ago. What happened in your view, and what is your response to Marin's take on the fact that even the Fulani leadership, the quality has dropped significantly, and that's perhaps why we're seeing more of these developments?
Thank you very much. I want to correct an impression that Operation Rambo is just coming. I don't think that is a correct impression. Marin has to go down memory lane. Operation Rambo has been in existence since during Jang. When Lalong came, he put them on hold. I don't know his reasons. And when he put them on hold, things normalized until when the present governor came. When the present governor came, he brought back Operation Rambo and he recruited 600 youths into Operation Rambo. None of them is a Fulani man. So they were selected from other communities. So that left us with doubt that why are Fulanis not inside? Or is it the reason why they are leading the attacks, leading mobs to go and attack? So since we have our conventional security outfit, the Nigerian police, the Nigerian military and others, so they should be allowed to handle such delicate cases of crisis like that. Operation Rambo should not be involved in this because we are seeing them as local mobs. Then on the situation of the coexistence, and I want to correct one impression again here. All the three girls, all of them are from cattle rustling, result of cattle rustling. So one, we have coexisted. The impression that we accommodated Fulani people, Mare should go back to memory lane. Who came? And there is one major problem is indigenous not in the town, which is very bad. And I want the government to address this problem. So that there are expertise of criminals as they are so we should treat criminality, that is one of the things. Treat criminality as criminality, not a criminal for Fulani.
Apologies there for the poor connection. I think we're having some challenges with the audio quality as well as the visual quality in our connection to Garba Abdullahi, the chairman of the chairman of Gan Allah Fulani Development Association in Plateau State, who's given us his perspective. We'll try and work on that a little bit as we wrap up the conversation with the two representatives giving us perspective to the developments on the Plateau. Let's try again. Garba, just recap what you were saying, because we're having some difficulties hearing you clearly because of the poor audio quality. Can you just recap what you were trying to say?
Okay, what I'm trying to say is government should work on Operation Rambo. We don't have confidence in them. They are local mobs, 600 people were recruited. None is a Fulani man. All of them are from other tribes that we are having skirmishes with. So they may use their own selfish interests now to work for their own people. So that is why I am advising that we allow the conventional security outfits to cushion this situation that happened. And the question you posed, as in we have coexisted, and there is this problem of indigenous, non-indigenous dichotomy. This one has to be addressed squarely, because a full animal is also an indigenous of Plateau State. And it is only on Plateau State that you have customized indigenous form, whereby you have name of tribes on indigenous form. Once your tribe is not there, then you are categorized as a non-indigenous person, no matter how qualities you possess for indigenship. Then we have coexisted peacefully. We have intermarried. For some Fulanis are even Christians. Some Bokos people and Mohawk are also Muslim. So that means that there was a cordial relationship. Please, we should tolerate each other. We should have sincerity of purpose. And the authorities, both from the security and the government, they should be justice in how they handle their things. Once there is justice, then I think we'll get it right. Then I'm calling on the government to call all stakeholders to a round table, because we have two types of approaches to crisis. We have the kinetic and the non-kinetic. The non-kinetic involves dialogue, which the 57-man committee of the GOC, that is their cardinal principle. They have drowned all these local governments. Then we've gone to Mango, we have gone to Boko, we have gone to Barikela, we have gone to Jos South, Jos North, Ambassa to advocate for this. And that helped in cushioning the situation that happened in Bassa, where they fought for 20 years. With this, now we have achieved peace. And Lalong had an agency, Plateau Peace Building Agency, which worked tirelessly in keeping peace on the Plateau. So I'm advising this governor, our amiable governor, to please use this platform of peace building to achieve peace. And he should call the leadership of the Fulani people, the leadership of the Mohawk people, the Ron people, and all these people that are having loggerheads to a round table. Enough is enough.
All right.
Brothers keepers, we should respect everybody's interest.
Right.
That will help us in this crisis.
Okay. And on that note, we're going to have to leave it here for now, gentlemen. Garba Abdullahi, Chairman, Gan Allah Fulani Development Association, Plateau State, and Maren Isaac Samuel, member of the Bokos Youth Progressive Association. Enough is indeed enough for the most part, but the search for common ground and peaceful coexistence continues on the Plateau, especially in light of all of the unfortunate developments that we have had to experience. Gentlemen, thank you most kindly for providing some perspective, and I do hope that we do find that common ground to make peace in Plateau State. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back in just a moment to double down on this conversation, speak to an expert to help us understand the different dimensions, elements, plus what the solutions could likely be in achieving lasting peace on the Plateau. More on that after the break. Welcome back to the program. Thank you very much for staying with us on Daybreak on Trust TV. Now, let's talk to Dr. Yakubu Joseph. Dr. Yakubu Joseph is the country director, Mission 21. He's a peace practitioner and researcher. Doctor, good morning. Thank you very much for making time. I appreciate you very much for standing by for quite some time. Now, let's just get your thoughts on what has been a recurring phenomenon on the Plateau, and what you make of everything that has been done so far to stop the bleeding.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. It's rather unfortunate that we are seeing this cycle of violence going on, destabilizing communities on the Plateau and creating a ripple effect throughout the state. On one hand, this is something that is shocking. On the other hand, it is not surprising if you look at it from a peace research perspective, because the issues have not been completely addressed, and this issue of violence will keep coming back, as it were.
And doctor, just looking at what happened just some 3-4 weeks ago in the build-up to the Christmas festivities, we were unfortunately dealing with the Christmas Eve attacks, the New Year attacks that happened 23 communities or thereabout across Bariki Ladi and Bokos local government area. One would have thought that all hands will be on deck to prevent further breakdown of law and order across all these volatile hotspots on the Plateau. And you did talk about that, no surprise comment that, this is happening yet again. Is there an acceptance that this is now a normal thing on the Plateau? Do you sense from the body language of whether it's the government or the actors and the players involved in these developments?
No, I don't think that anyone would like to see this violence continuing. If you want to understand a conflict, there are 4 elements that we have to look at. That's in analyzing such a conflict. First, the profile of the conflict. This will be looking at the context in which the conflict is occurring. You look at the socio-political, economic, geographical, and historical factors that impact on the conflict. And then you look at the causes, and both remote and proximate factors must be looked into. The underlying causes of this conflict, if they are not addressed, the violence will keep coming back. And so when there is an eruption of violence and the intervention has been only a kinetic one, as the chairman of the Fulani Development Association rightly said, if you concentrate your resources on the kinetic approach only, then you are leaving out a significant portion of the areas that you are supposed to cover, and to deal with the non-kinetic aspect, to apply non-kinetic measures to deal with the problem, to have dialogue, to also address some of the underlying issues that have generated this situation that we are facing. And then you look at the actors. Who are the main actors in this crisis? I think that your last 2 guests have really helped us to see how far apart they are, the gap, the perceptions, the impressions. And this is also very helpful to understand that there are this aspect of the relational aspect of the conflict that must be dealt with. You can see hatred, you can see animosity and grievances that these parties have. And because religion and ethnicity are implicated in this conflict, it is a very difficult identity-based conflict on the surface, but underneath, it is not just an identity conflict, it's also a resource-based conflict. which has to do with, if you look at the causes, you can look at the ecological dimension of the conflict as well, the issue of environmental resources. And you look at the profile, I'm talking of the context, geographical context of Plateau State, where you have vegetation, you have water, ponds everywhere that herders would want to have access to and farmers also rely on. So this has made Plateau a hotspot of some sort. And then the last part is to look at the dynamics of the conflict and how this is something that is supposed to teach us, to tell us how the conflict is evolving and looking at the trends, looking at the changes, looking at the escalation. What are those factors that help the conflict to escalate? And therefore, we will look at how we can deal with it, because if we look at the trend and how we'll be able to predict the scenarios. So I feel that in a nutshell, we haven't done enough in engaging with the conflict and looking at the multiplicity of angles that need to be dealt with.
Right, and doctor, you captured the whole situation in such a very precise manner, and that presents obviously a challenge where academics like you, experts like you, perhaps need to step in to guide some sort of search for a common ground that allows for some of these issues to be discussed. But where do we fit in the element of justice? Because in trying to build peaceful coexistence, there is a need for us to address the question of justice. When Garba Abdullahi of Gang Allah Fulani Development Association talks about cattle rustling, it's safe to say that for some of those who are affected by it, they just want justice to be done, whether it's in a form of reparation or compensation. They want something before we can negotiate peace going forward. Same goes for whether it's the Magavul or Bokos Progressive Youth Association. They also want some sort of justice for some of the relatives that they have lost in some of these violent clashes. How do you do that when temperatures are already high in dealing with this very sensitive situation?
So there are sequences of steps, the sequence of steps that must be taken. First, what the military is doing, stepping in to secure a ceasefire to make sure that the hostilities stop, I think is the topmost priority at the moment, to make sure that violence has been halted, and after that also provide humanitarian assistance to the affected persons. And then we need to open channels of dialogue. And as you can see, the different parties have different positions and narratives about what is going on. They are far apart. Their positions are largely adversarial and antagonistic. But this is normal. The challenge for conflict transformation is to find a way to bring these two parties together. And I'm saying this, it's sounding easy, but it's not that easy. It takes a lot of effort. And as you have rightly said, there are other actors. The Peace Building Agency was a great innovation on the plateau. And I think it should be deployed also to do more in this situation. The military are doing their best. You can hear the commander is even promoting dialogue. They are actually trying to help because there's what we call military-civilian relations or civil-military relations. And they are trying to use that to create platforms where they can get the parties to talk. It's not that the kinetic approach is always the last resort. So we need to have stakeholders come on board, identify leaders on both sides who actually can reach out to those who are actively fueling this conflict. And there is also a dimension that these leaders who are speaking on behalf of their people should also be able to distance themselves on those who are carrying out acts of banditry, who come in at night and just kill people, maim, slaughter innocent people in their sleep. And I'm not talking about identity, regardless of who is really the victim. This is unacceptable. These atrocious acts must be stopped and must be disowned by those who speak on behalf of their group in this contest. Because we don't want to get into a situation whereby we have banditry elements perpetrating these atrocities, and then we are caught up in this counter-argument and counter-narratives that create a cloud that doesn't allow us to really see who are the real enemies, who are really coming out to kill women and men and children in their sleeps. Who are these people? So this is very important. The other aspect you talk about justice is that I have talked about the sleeping volcano. Now, the grievances that people carry as victims, the pain, the hurting that people are going through because of what has happened to them before in previous violence, which has not been addressed, the trauma that they are carrying, which has not been addressed, becomes a sleeping volcano that can what? Erupt in the future, as we are seeing what is happening time and again. And therefore, when we talk about justice, I also said that we need different types of justice. We need retributive justice, where people who have committed acts of crime, atrocities like these, are apprehended and they are brought to book. They should be arrested by the security forces. They should be brought before the courts, and nobody should go behind them. Let the process be fair to those who are arrested. You see, when arrests are made, sometimes innocent people who even come out in self-defense are arrested. So you have to be careful when you are arrested, because perpetrators can strike and disappear, and innocent people who come out self-defense can be caught, and they are the ones that are now being tried. And their group will now come and say, this is another injustice perpetrated against them by the state. So we have to be careful how we handle that. So I believe that punitive justice is required. We also need restorative justice, which has to address the issue of healing and reconciliation. People are hurting. You can see the hatred that is there is going down deep in the hearts of people. Right. How do we address that aspect? How do you address the psychological scar that people are carrying? This will take a lot of work. A lot of specialized efforts has to be made by different stakeholders. The religious leaders can be involved, the training can be done, and we need to have also other stakeholders come in on board. The last part of type of justice that I would like to see also is what is called transformative justice. Transformative justice seeks to address the root causes of violence. What are the root causes of violence that we are facing? There are questions of land grabbing. There are questions of also people feeling they belong or they don't belong. There is a question of poverty. There are ecological issues. We are seeing the environmental degradation that we are experiencing, impact of climate change, that a lot has to be done to increase climate change resilience, to increase environmental adaptation to environmental changes. The state has to do more. I'm afraid the hand of the state is full, but it still has to do more. It has to look at this conflict in a holistic manner. This piecemeal approach is not going to take us anywhere. It's only going to buy time. And conflict likes it. When you buy time, conflict will freeze. And then later, when things warm up a bit, it will come out. So we need to really understand that we're in for the long haul. It's not something that we just do for 1 or 2 weeks or a month and just come back to sleep.
Okay, Dr. Yakubu, as always, thank you very much for the insightful and eye-opening analysis on this one. We really appreciate your contribution, and hopefully the appropriate authorities will do the needful to address all the concerns as well as the gaps that exist as we try to negotiate a better, long-lasting, peaceful coexistence on the plateau across the ethno-religious divides that have pretty much characterized the developments that we've seen over the past 2 decades. Thank you most kindly for your expertise and analysis.
Thank you for having me.
Right.
Have a great day.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break now on Daybreak. We'll be back in just a moment to bring you up to speed with the stories making the headlines across some select national dailies this morning. Newspaper review is coming up next. Time now to take a look at some of the front pages of some select national dailies to bring you up to date with the stories making the headlines this lovely Wednesday morning. And we kick things off with a look at the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper for today, Wednesday, January 24, 2024. This is what it looks like today. Security agents arrest Fulani leader Botejo, I believe in Nasarawa, for setting up an unregistered, I believe, vigilante group. And there's more on that story on page 10. Tinubu receives Blinken, seeks U.S. support for G20 membership. Police arrest gun runner with ammunition in Kaduna. And the latest on the Plateau attacks or unrest, 8 killed as fresh violence erupts in Plateau. Mosques, churches, houses burnt. 24-hour curfew imposed in Mangu local government area. The military says we have deployed troops to stabilize the situation. And you can see pictures there of some of the victims in the recent attacks. Sacked PDP lawmakers storm Plateau Assembly. APC members stay away. Page 11 has more on that political quagmire in Plateau State. Unprecedented, I dare add. Bandits kill man, kidnap 16 family members in Niger State. And despite receiving 1.88 trillion naira in 2 years, 9 oil-producing states' debts skyrocket. So more money, more problems, I guess. And patients groan amid health workers strike in the FCT. And there's more on that on pages 16 and 19 if you want to take a look at some of those stories to do some further reading. The Daily Independent is next. So let's take a look at the front page of the Daily Independent for today. Tinubu meets South-South monarchs, reassures on completing East-West Road. There shouldn't be special status for Lagos, according to Femi Okunu. Why is he saying that? Find out more on the pages of the Daily Independent for today. And year-round elections putting pressure on NEC, or rather on INEC, according to Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, who is the national chairman of the Electoral Umpire. You have a picture there of the president and in his meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken yesterday at the State House in Abuja. But just above that picture, you have that story of FAC sharing 1.127 trillion naira in the month of December last year as revenue to the federal government and states, as well as, or rather as allocation to federal government, states and local government areas. And below that picture, Plateau Assembly, I once swear in 16 appeal court endorsed lawmakers, according to Speaker. I think we covered that story, and I think he's saying, listen, he's waiting for the appropriate authorities to do the needful, and perhaps if they get their certificate of return and there's regularization of that, maybe we get to see those lawmakers that won the election at the appeal court. Federal government receives National Values Charter blueprint. There are other news stories. The Petroleum Industry Act, President Tinubu vows to strengthen investment in oil, gas sector. 4 billion naira alleged fraud. EFCC to arraign Obiano today. Federal government seeks collaboration with Hungarian firm, plans aircraft manufacturing. Speaker's impeachment not targeted at Governor, new Ogun Assembly Speaker. It was quite dramatic. And you have that story that correlates with the picture. Blinken holds bilateral meeting with Tinubu, says U.S. entrepreneurs eager to invest in Nigeria. Well, let's see that happen. That is it on the front page of the Daily Independent. Up next, the Guardian newspaper, 2025 broadband target dicey as 35 states remain underserved. And it's proving to be quite the difficulty there. You have only a handful of states that look like they're in a position to do something, even though I think the one in the FCT leaves much to be desired. But you have the FCT there, you have Lagos, unmistakably, Ogun, Oyo, and a handful of other states that are readily in a position for that broadband 2025 target. 12 in police net, I beg your pardon, over NNPP APC supporters clash in Kano. Old corruption, saboteurs hobble new regime at passport offices. So, same old problem, same old challenge. All right, we take a look at other stories now on the front page of the news. Nigerian News Direct. Increase in NMDPRA tariffs contributed to hike in price of petrol, according to Ipman. It is a crime to stage your own abduction, Nigerian police warn. FARC allocates 1.13 trillion naira to federal government, states and local government areas for the month of December. BDC's lobby to resume publication of parallel market rates as Nigeria's naira depreciates further against the dollar. Adeleke approves 1 billion naira loan scheme, unveils cooperative movement for reform plan. And you have the unmistakable picture there of the one and only Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. All right, let's talk now more about some of the stories making the headlines across some select national dailies this morning. And we have the one and only unmistakable former director of news at the Voice of Nigeria, the one and only Mr. Benjamin is joining us this beautiful Wednesday morning, looking chipper and in a good spirit, I hope.
Yes, only that I'm worried about the adjectives, one and only.
Yeah, there's only one Mr. Benjamin, or is there another one?
Well, my own dynasty, they all are Benjamins.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. It's good morning. Good to see you again. As
good morning.
Always. Let's start on a not so good note. Plateau, once again, back in the news. We understand that Mangu was the point of call now, where the government had to impose a 24-hour curfew. But the damage has been done. 8 persons have been confirmed killed. Buildings, churches, mosques have been destroyed, and as usual, lives have been disrupted. Your thoughts?
Very unfortunate once again. So politically, all is not well on the plateau. The economy, not well on the plateau. Human relations or relationship, not well on the plateau. And I hope there are just no plans somewhere to continuously destabilize Plateau and consequently Nigeria. Because if you look at it, the moment that starts, there's always a kind of a spillover to some other local governments, which is not too good. And why is it that sanctity of life is no longer something we hold so high. And the next thing is, if these are, I mean, what do you call maybe some tribal or farmer herders clash, why the target of our worship places? Because even by UN convention, if you run to a shrine, you run to a church, a mosque, or where you feel people go to worship, you are supposed to be safe. Now, those places are being burned. So where is a sanctuary? Where indeed is a sanctuary? And I think that the governor, haven't taken that action, that is just the option he has. What else can he do? He doesn't control the security apparatus. And that is why I support calls that there should be some kind of state police. State police, it doesn't mean that the governor will just release some people to go and unleash mayhem on innocent people. Like it's always been said, there's just no way a state police working with local government, police, and the federal, that thing will get out of this kind of problem. But when we allow it to linger and linger and linger, I mean, you see people who should know. Every time they say we fear governors will unleash, now we're seeing criminals unleashing terror on innocent people. Is that the best situation we'll ever have? I think there has to be a rethink, and I think that people of note, those you call notary public, the lawyers, bar association, why is it that people can't just have private bills on this matter? I think a time has come for things of this nature, so that Plateau remains that home of peace and tourism. It's now the opposite, just because some people have skewed, planned, and are executing it that way. I think it looks deliberate, and it shouldn't just be at all.
Right. And staying with Plateau, the State Assembly, the sacked PDP lawmakers, in an unusual move, have decided to show up to work even after being sacked. Now, I've never seen this happen. Usually when you're sacked, you don't show up for work saying that you're reinstating yourself. And in this particular fashion, they have announced on Monday that they were going to show up when the plenary resumes or reconvenes on Tuesday at the Old Government House in Jos, the Plateau State capital. However, they are taking a particular dimension or perspective that since the governor survived, his legal battle, which is the same bullet that took them down, they have decided to usurp the powers of or rather, void the verdict of the appeal court and say we're now going to stick with what the Supreme Court said. First of all, your thoughts on this one? We know they cannot legally do that, but what do you make of this development?
I think it's like they're engaging in some self-help. And I also think that quickly too, the National Assembly should be looking at this kind of gaps, these lacunas. A situation where it's legal that all cases, I mean their own case, would not reach the Supreme Court. And once it stops there, that is just the limit. So there's nothing they can do rather than a kind of lick some wounds. But it's a kind of bringing some pressure to bear, so that people of note, the National Judicial Council should also take note. Because why are they saying so, doing all of that? Because what is good for Nigeria is good for Niger Republic, is good for Niger State. I mean, if the governor survived under the same circumstance, why shouldn't the lawmakers? But if therefore the law limits them, they can't go to the Supreme Court and get the same kind of judgment. So it says a lot. So
it's a classic judgment was delivered, but justice wasn't done.
I think that justice was not done for these lawmakers, bearing in mind that if you say because B is wearing a red cap, he should pass. B is not wearing. Now, B has passed. So why don't you allow every other person to pass? So some will say, oh, we're talking about logic, but I mean, sometimes this logic does not, the law will say, look at when you talk of housebreaking and burglary. Now this cup, somebody broke into this place and took this cup, and it was in the morning. Then you went and said it was in the evening or in the night. And for that reason, it has become a nullity because of the time. One is housebreaking, the other one is burglary. And so we shouldn't be talking of logic. If you say PDP did not do their primaries very well, therefore give it to APC. The law itself is saying, look, all those things are just for the parties. Now, if you look at the position of the speaker now, he said, okay, let's see those who have been who are said to have won by the appeal court or by the tribunal. Where is their own certificate of return? They also have to be issued those things before they also go to report. And that's why you can see the speaker is also saying, if I receive this, has INEC given you any paper? Can you show it to us? You know, and INEC will also tell you it's a body that goes by what the judge or the court or the panel says.
Right.
Therefore, it will not contravene what the law has said.
Right. Yes. Okay. That is quite a very dramatic one. You know, a head scratcher, a very typical head scratcher in Nigerian political,
it doesn't say well about democracy in this country.
Exactly.
And look at what happened the days of Darie, where a few people were handpicked and they went and impeached a governor. The crisis continued. Then there was a state of emergency imposed on Plateau. That was not too good for democracy. And is it another script that has been rehashed or reenacted and played out?
Right. Those questions hopefully will be answered in the days to come, as those APC lawmakers who have won through the courts did not show up for plenary yesterday. Security agents arrest Fulani leader Bodejo in Nasarawa for putting together a vigilante group that I believe is causing some sort of concern. I don't know if you've been tracking that story. But,
yes,
what do you make of it?
I did. I saw it, and I was concerned about profiling when they say a Fulani vigilante group. That's what some papers have.
Miyetti Allah Kautal Hore. He's the president of Miyetti Allah Kautal Hore, Bello Bodejo.
Yes, the story is, the crux of the matter is that he set up a vigilante group, but solely for Fulanis. Now, where our fault that is, I mean, if we've been yearning for and calling for community policing, kind of, I expect that the pluralistic nature of Nasarawa State should have been taken into cognizance. When you have, if you say, okay, all tribes there, can I have maybe president, your secretary, and PRO, all tribes. Then you now go meet somewhere. Can we think of this? Then you look for the blessing of the governor, look for the blessing of the police, so that it looks like what do we call them in southwestern Amotekun? You know, if we can have something similar to that in the southwest, fine. But when you single out one tribe, then another one singles out another tribe, then another singles his own, then where are your areas of operations? Then there will be clashes.
The deputy director of the national secretary, I beg your pardon, has said that he was basically invited to answer some questions, but they are saying that it is not in connection with the group, even though in some media reports it is in connection with forming that vigilante group. So there's still some gray areas that need to be ironed out in the
yes, and talking of invitation to iron out or to clear out some issues, you could also see that the DSS is saying it's not with them, this agency is not with
now
them.
The military is saying that they're now saying perhaps it's with the military because they're the ones who
the word is perhaps. In other words, I remember the days of Frank Kokori during the Abiola, Abacha days. There was fuel scarcity, and you could see that he virtually played some key roles where government will want to go this way, he will sway unions the other side. So at the point, Frank Kokori disappeared. And the daughter was saying, oh, the military came and arrested him and described everything the way they did. The military denied, Jerry Garner denied he was Minister of Information, and everyone was just saying, where is this Labour leader? In the end, the man appeared. He just said, yeah, I also needed to cause some confusion within the system. But I think that the situation we have in Nasarawa is more than this little drama. It's a serious thing. And like I said, if it is for the good of the Fulanis, it should be for the good of the Egon people, good for the Gwandaras, good for everybody, the Madas, everybody. I mean, let us simply have a stable Nasarawa, progress, Nasarawa, be something like that.
Okay.
So if we can have that debate for everybody.
Well, Tinubu has received the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, is asking for your support for G20 membership. And we're learning more about that particular visit. But what does a G20 membership actually mean for Nigeria? I mean, the African Union just joined the G20 group. And there's one African country that always gets that invitation, and that has always been South Africa. So what do you think this membership, if eventually we get it, what would it mean for this country?
Honestly, I mean, it's like an elitist kind of a club that you go, fraternize, take very big flamboyant photographs, and thereafter return. I mean, let us begin to look at the benefits, even the cost benefits of everything.
I mean, G20 is, I think, is responsible for, is it 82 or 83 or thereabout percent of global trade? So it's not just elitist, it's getting into the big boys club, isn't it?
And that means that makes it elitist. My brother, how do we just go? Yes, it could mean something, but honestly, we need to look at ourselves internally first. Which investor do you want to bring? Outside the Chinese that are ready to invest in a very hostile and uncertain environment. Outside the Chinese, where are the Americans? Where are the Britons? Then if you're talking of Germany, Germany said, okay, they will come into to do some railway businesses with us here. And where are they? We are still waiting. Only the Chinese can take that risk, and they can afford to also give us either inferior or very good technology. And that's why Ajaokuta has failed. I mean, Russia started all of this, abandoned it. The Indians came in. Where are they? They've gone. Now we're seeing China coming. And what are they trying to do? They said they want to build what they call military hub in that area, military hardware in Ajaokuta. So if Blinken comes and we are simply saying we want to go join G20 nations, if China has come, whoever is ready to come in here, please let's do business with them. Instead of all this aligning and realigning, and we are not seeing anything. Let us take our security seriously. If we take security seriously and everywhere is safe, I tell you, we don't even need to woo them, to beg them. They'll be the ones to come looking for land, looking for all of this. Let us give security. Let's give incentives and avoid unnecessary taxation, my brother. Local government is taxing you. You come into this office, some people in orange kind of T-shirts with face cap, they're just brandishing ID cards. Hey, show us particulars. That's different from VIO, different from Road Safety Co. You are there. I was speaking with somebody who has a very big shop in this place. I said, look, you just sit down. Some people will come, oh, this billboard, you have to pay for it. Okay, Federal Inland Revenue is coming this way. Abuja is coming, the Grand Red. They are talking all sorts of taxes that are driving people away. And when they were using so much big generators, how much were they spending to maintain generators? Because there's always no light. And when NEPA, or even though their name has changed, when they do come, I mean, when there is no light, the bill they give you will shake you. Then now look at, okay, how much do I have in this shopping mall? I mean, how many people do I pay? And by the time you pay all these taxes, it's like you have taxes. It's like you have opened this place just for purposes of paying taxes. It's not the best. And so G20 or whatever name you will call it, I think we have to make do. First, let us make our environment here safe for investment.
Okay.
We should.
All right. More kidnappings and banditry, but let's take a look at the front page of the Daily Independent. There are some stories worthy for a second look, just to give you a sense of what other stories are being reported. On the front page of the Daily Independent today, we see some very interesting news stories that I think we should take a quick look at, especially with regards to some of these ideas around the best way forward for the Nigerian economy. But before we talk about the FAC allocations, year-round elections putting pressure on INEC, according to the chairman, the national chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. The February by-elections are here. They had an interaction with the NSA, the Inspector General of Police, as well as the Committee on Election Security. Your thoughts on what he's saying? Plus, when Nigerians say, listen, we're breaking our backs paying for all these elections, so I think it's only fair that we ask value for money. If we had done the election properly, maybe there wouldn't be by-elections, especially in cases where it was because of a nullification of some, polling units or voting centers and things like that, with a few exceptions of, we have senators who have now had to become ministers, and that position has been declared vacant. What are your thoughts about the pressure that INEC has to deal with all these off-season elections?
I think the pressures also keep them on their toes. They are the experts. They are the election managers. So whatever pressure, what do you expect of a student? That they should be given some very soft landing? They
always say practice makes progress.
Exactly. So. And in as much as we are seeing some of these gaps in the electoral process, I think that it is also time that we begin to experiment with them. If the National Assembly can quickly amend the Electoral Act, then it will take care of some. We use them as testing grounds. I think it's good omen. And if INEC too had also done their elections correctly the way they ought to be done, as laid down or prescribed by law, I think we will not be going into some of these things. And also politicians, I don't know. Why must, like some people are talking about Delta State. The sitting governor got how many local governments? Now, the closest challenger got 4 local governments. Yet you went to election petition. You want elections upturned. You want things that happened to Hope Uzodinma, who took 4th position. Supreme Court gave him. He became governor. And that is why today, I say, oh boy, where is the money where you are giving us? Take me to court. Let's go to court. It's a very serious indictment on the judiciary when everything you want to say, go to court, let's meet in the court. In other words, look at what has happened in Plateau. Look at what has also happened in Nasarawa State, because the issue is let's go to court, where some people feel they'll get justice behind the scene.
All right. We still have a very dysfunctional system that we need to sort out, especially if you look at the very different layers when it comes to our democratic process, whether it's with the elections, whether it's with political parties, politicians, the judiciary itself. There are so many layers and dimensions to this conundrum. But we're going to have to leave it here for now, Mr. Benjamin, as always. Thank you most kindly for the professional expertise and analysis.
Thank you very much. And I can see the Nigerian Bar Association being unbundled.
Yeah.
Another Wahala is coming.
Yeah, well,
Wahala means trouble.
I think at the end of the day, we just want professional legal service, regardless of which association you decide to belong to. But lawyers still get to practice either way. Thank you very much, Mr. Benjamin, for joining us on Daybreak.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
This is where we wrap things up for today's edition of the program. Thank you most kindly for joining us. We do appreciate your time and company. Join us again tomorrow. We'll be back live at 8 a.m. exclusive as always on Trust TV. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Sports 360 Sports is coming up next at the top of the hour. Good morning.